Or everything on the menu.
We're live, baby.
All right.
Okay, guys, welcome to the Gentleman's Soup podcast. We have a name now. We didn't in the past, but now there's a name. There's gonna be some epic graphic visuals on the way. But the important thing here is that my good friend Jack has abandoned me. He's jumped ship, and I'm holding down the fort until he finds enough time in his busy schedule of smoking weed and doing his homework to come on to the podcast. Now, no slight against Jack, of course, but in his place, I'm here with my good friend Nathaniel. What's going on?
Hey, what's up? I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Not much, dude. Not
I think
much.
anyone who listens to this probably knows who I am, so.
Well, I'm Cam, too. Yeah, I should probably mention that. And we're going to talk for a little bit today. I wanted to talk with you, Nate, because you have a lot of knowledge on this subject, and we frequently joke around about this memes.
Right.
But it's not just memes that I want to talk about. It's more of what memes mean in our generation, Gen Z. I don't know what we're known for the most, if not memes.
That or, yeah, probably being the first generation to not grow up in a world that the internet didn't exist in. You know, the internet has...
Yeah, and that's probably part and parcel.
That's kind of the broader generalization that memes are included in, is we've never known life without it.
Yeah, and that's cool, but people seem to underestimate memes, and that's why I wanted to talk about it with you, because I couldn't really talk about this with Jack, frankly. He knows memes. You see a meme on Instagram or whatever, and it's funny because you know about it, makes sense to you, but there's this whole, it seems like the mainstream meme culture is so saturated in irony and knowledge of video games and pop culture and movies and just things going on in the internet in general. Video games are actually a big part of it, and Jack is kind of removed from that.
Right. But
I'm a internet god. I know everything there is to know about what the internet is and how it works. And same with you, to not to the same extent, of course.
Of course, yes.
But first of all, I want your thoughts. Are memes, the prevalence of memes, how do you account for that? Why are memes so popular now? Why do they have such a huge reach?
Well, memes themselves or the topic material, would you say? Because, like...
memes have been around for a while, yeah.
Right. I would say that it's probably primarily attributed to the kind of rise of social media. You know, they started to develop before a lot of the big names that we see today, like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, but they also kind of grew up alongside them, I feel like. And I think that kind of as time has gone on and more people have adopted these different social media things, nowadays it's kind of unusual to not have at least some form of social media.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I think that memes, due to their kind of brevity, lend themselves well as an entertainment form to a social media post.
To a society of people with the attention span of a squirrel.
Yes, that's actually definitely true. I think our attention span as a whole has
greatly
declined.
Reduced. You say that. I don't think that's necessarily true. But we're in a position right now where you can saturate like every second, every moment of your life with something that's entertaining, because you have something in your phone at all times that you can just pull out, and there'll be something cool or funny or interesting to look at. And I don't know if that's necessarily a lack of attention span. It may contribute to that, but you think about how big podcasts are now, and movies and like HBO and Netflix shows that go on for like 8 seasons or 10 seasons.
Right, yeah, with movie quality.
And people binge watch that. So I think people do have a greater attention span than we give them credit for, the majority of people. But memes, I think, are a great outlet for a multitude of things, which we'll get into. But I think the fact that they're so digestible and prevalent on like every social media platform, like you said, that like everybody is on at least one of them, that it's kind of hard to escape the memeing.
Oh yeah, for sure. My dad talks about memes, and he's my dad.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's different like ecosystems of memes. You have like Facebook, which is just like the worst. Yeah. Just the worst toxic waste garbage of like Orange Man bad type shit that that is just I can't even go on. Facebook is like trashy to me now.
Yeah, well, I think that's
It's
actually...
always been, it's past our time. Or it's
For
before
sure.
our time.
Yeah, Facebook's one of the older ones, and it's kind of based on some of the ideas that MySpace brought around. And so I think... I'm pretty sure Facebook is actually declining at the moment, and they're kind of worried about it because... yeah, I think a lot of their user base is older, and so the memes and humor and stuff kind of align a bit more with older humor, but...
Yeah, but it's also, it seems like the memes on Facebook are way more detached from, like, it's not, I don't even know, yeah.
For sure.
About that?
Well, I think it's, again, I think a lot of it is that it's who the audience is for. I think people browsing Facebook memes are, like, my grandma, frankly. I think that...
Yeah, and they're going senile, they're all their muscles are atrophied, and they can't even, their brains don't work, their penises and ovaries have been dried up to sand.
Yeah, for like 20 years.
Yeah, what do you do when your ovaries are and your genitals are made of sand?
Well, you cope. You look at the yellow jelly beans, the funny yellow jelly beans that wear the goggles.
The funny. Yeah. There's also the political aspect of it. You have like older. It's weird. It seems like there's a huge gap that there's people that are older and you would think wiser, but are like vastly less knowledgeable about like anything than even like the younger generation, like millennials and Gen Z. And then you have older people that are actually like highly read, very like smart, and have spent their whole lives like, you know, learning.
Yeah.
It's weird that it seems like you get to a point in your life as an adult where you just don't give a fuck. Like, you lose that responsibility to, like, know that you are probably wrong about most things.
Yeah. And part of me wonders if that's also something to do with the internet and why it seems like as a whole maybe millennials and Gen Z and stuff seem to have kind of a lower range of awareness. It seems like everyone's at least basically aware, whereas older people who aren't familiar with the internet might be getting like only their information from, you know, fucking Fox News or something.
Yeah, Facebook.
As opposed to then those... Yeah, or Facebook, exactly.
Facebook.
So, as opposed to those...
Like, I would never... I need to have a Facebook, or I did, I suppose, because for, like, cross-country and stuff, that's where all the messages were. And for our Minecraft server that's coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. It's gonna blow up. Everyone needs to pitch in for the server fees. But every time I open it, I'm physically disgusted. Especially, and when I see that in my feed, like when I'm when I'm transitioning, when I open the app, and then I see my feed for like 1 second before I go to the XC group, and I see that like someone who is my age, who is my peer, like shared or liked something, I immediately think lesser of them.
Yeah, for sure. Not to name any names, but there are definitely some parties in our school. The ones that always blow me away, particularly, are like the. I remember a little while back we had an incident with the whole the ballot question number 3, which for anyone watching this who doesn't know, which is probably nobody, but anyway, was a question related to preserving a bathroom bill that we have in Massachusetts that allows transgender people to use the bathroom that they identify with. And I remember a certain person in our school, in our grade, sharing just a kind of a clueless post. Like, if you want to take the no on 3 option, that's fine if you can back it up.
Yeah,
but
you gotta back it up. And it's really hard to back that claim up.
Yeah, because the best argument for it is that, you know, men are going to quote unquote identify as women and then go and prey. Go prey on women in bathrooms
and go break a law.
Yes, but like,
it's like
we've literally
if you're gonna break such a serious law as like raping another woman, then I don't think the fact that you can't go in their bathroom is gonna stop you, really.
Yeah. That, and you know, regardless, we did a study and it didn't increase. There was no increase in
that's my thing, is that like you can't that law, like the whole question 3 was like, should we keep this law that's already been in place
for years?
and it just nothing happened. Like, we passed a law and we were good. And so I don't even understand why you would want to get rid of that. But that's not, alright, whatever, that's not really what we're
going on a tangent there.
Yeah, a little bit. I think, and so another ecosystem of memes. So you have Facebook,
Right.
where it's just Orange Man bad. It's the little jelly bean with the
lemon jelly beans.
minions. And then you have 9gag. I'm not familiar with 9gag very much, but that's kind of like less normie, but still incredibly like just trash for the most part.
Yeah, it's that like the 9gag iFunny tier, essentially.
Yeah, iFunny. Yeah, those are kind of on the same level. It's just like, this is a meme. Like, I think what differentiates them is, so Facebook is for really old people.
Right.
Or people that are very not in touch with internet culture. 9gag and iFunny are for people that know about memes and want to consume them, but know very surface level things about the internet. So you can see a meme on iFunny or 9gag, and it takes hardly any background knowledge of anything to understand and get the joke, because like you could show that to anybody and they'd get what you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'd say.
Not a bad
There's
thing,
definitely
but
a market
it does
for that.
result in it does result in the most prevalent memes on those platforms being kind of watered down.
Yeah, they're kind of cheaper jokes, or they use just cute animals or slapstick. Kid falls over, which if you find that fun, I'm worried that if we're not careful here, we're gonna sound like fucking humor elitists, which is the worst thing.
Well, that's kind of every single episode of this show.
Oh, is elitism?
Is me trying as hard as I can not to sound like I'm better than everyone else,
Yeah.
and I fail constantly.
Well, we should probably then just highlight that right there. Is like, if you viewer/listener/ whatever we call you, I guess you're not a viewer until Kit gets on those graphics. If you like iFunny, knock yourself out.
Godspeed. No, Godspeed, soldier. There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, we have a friend. We have a friend, Sam, and he always sees us. We'll be in music theory, which is a class that we're in together. And you'll be showing me some funny shit on Instagram, whatever, and I'll show you some shit. And it's the tier of meme that like we're into. And then Sam sees it, and he feels. I just get this sense of despair from him that he's left out of this, because he doesn't get the memes and stuff. And I can tell that he really wants to be in on all the meme shit, just internet culture in general. And all I can say to that is like, yeah, dude, we're laughing and like we're on the same page, like me and you, Nate, are. But like, you don't want to be on the level, because
save yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Save yourself before you get swallowed, because it's just a lot of fucking. If you want to be super in on internet culture, then you have to have a lot of fucking time to waste on nothing. Like,
yeah, or you have to have built it up. Like, I don't know about you, but personally, I have been building up my knowledge for years. I get jokes that are years old, and so it's not necessarily that I've been spending 8 hours a day, but that's what you'd have to do to catch up.
Yeah. So it's not that's my kind of conceit, is that like these what I call higher tier levels of memes, I don't mean that they're better, but that they take more knowledge of internet culture to understand. Those are no better necessarily than the 9gag iFunny memes. I mean, it's selective because, as I said, some of the iFunny stuff is more watered down. But it's not worth it.
No.
It's not worth for anyone aspiring to it. First of all, if you're aspiring, it's kind of weird. The positions have flip-flopped, and this is always the case, is that when you have someone who's like more normie, quote unquote, which is kind of like, that's a 4chan term.
Yeah, it's dangerous to use unironically.
It's dangerous to use unironically.
We're gonna do it anyway.
But it does describe a certain sort of person.
For sure.
That is, and really all normie means, it is used as an elitist term, sort of ironically, but it really just does mean someone that's not affluent in internet language and culture and all that stuff, which is probably for the best. That I think more people should be like that.
Yes.
There's a lot of trash and
those are the people who like
terrible stuff
get hired and like advanced society, aren't they?
Yeah. What was I saying?
You were talking about how there's kind of higher tiers of memes and
well, so those the higher tier, harder to understand memes, those kind of get filtered. It's weird. They filter to Instagram, which is actually owned by Facebook, which is
ironically enough, yeah.
Yeah. But, and I'm not sure why the platform of Instagram, because we have a bit of a meme chat on Instagram where it's just a bunch of our friends that are all, you know, about that shit. And the funny thing is that, like, I'll be with some of my other friends that maybe aren't as into memes and stuff, and, you know, they'll be showing each other pictures and stuff, and I'll be like, all right, usually I'll go to the meme chat because there's always funny stuff there, and I'll just be looking through, and I'll just scroll for, like, a full minute and not find a single thing that, like, they would find funny in the slightest regard. There's just so many... Instagram is it's a weird platform because there is, like, you know, Daquan, Hood Clips, Worldstar.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, is, like, I think part of that is probably with Instagram more so than with Facebook, because, you know, with Facebook, it's your friends and peers and stuff who are sharing things. On Instagram, the sources are coming from accounts that you've chosen to follow, at least in theory.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're looking for it, you can definitely... I mean, I was actually literally going to say Hood Clips or, like, Worldstar or something.
Yeah, like, just, like, in the... sometimes there's stuff on those pages that just is so absurd and hilarious because it's just, like, it'll just be footage of someone doing something absolutely, like crazy.
Shotgunning 3 beers and then...
Yeah. Or, like, I saw a video of a guy who has a 12-gauge shotgun with a bayonet on the end of it.
Jesus.
And he runs up and stabs a watermelon and lifts it up into the air on his bayonet and then shoots it and explodes the watermelon. And that's, like, that was funny because he was a maniac, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. There are, like, the fact that there are private accounts on Instagram makes it so that if your feed on Instagram, you will never see anything that you didn't choose and elect to like follow, you know, no accounts. Whereas Facebook, it'll promote stuff that, like, your friends liked or something,
right,
or shared, which is probably for the best. That's
good.
That's good because I want to curate my own feed. And also meme accounts, the good meme accounts on Instagram, like, going private is one of the biggest atrocities of our generation.
Because they're being censored, though. It's not their fault, you know.
Yeah, well, because they don't want to get reported and stuff.
Right,
That's
exactly.
The thing, is that memes are so... They thrive on Instagram, but I don't think Instagram wants... Well, they have certain policies, right?
Right.
There's no really... There's no open field, open battleground, like, where memes could thrive, because I think if there were some platform in the future where there was zero restrictions, something like akin to 4chan but more mainstream, then that would be the perfect platform for memes to exist. But with Instagram is kind of the best thing we got because you have private accounts, and because you have, you know, Instagram is not super strict with their you know, what gets taken down and what stays up.
Yeah. I mean, Reddit's also okay, but that one's very dense. It's very difficult to get into Reddit.
Reddit is different. It's similar in the way that you get to choose which feeds or which accounts, I guess you could say. It's subreddits on Reddit, but, you know, which places you're getting your memes from. And there are some really good ones, obviously.
Oh, for sure.
r/comedy heaven is a great one. I actually wanted to talk about some of the Reddit subreddits for memes, including, like, me IRL.
Right.
They could make Cypress told me one time, he's like, they should make, like, a full hour-long documentary on me IRL, and you could do it and it would be easy.
Yeah,
there's so much to talk about with me IRL. We can get into that a bit later. Reddit's good for memes in that, like, you know, you can find there's a community for you somewhere out on Reddit.
Absolutely.
But there's also a community for the type of people that you hate on Reddit.
Yes.
That are, like, you know, annoying. Mm-hmm. So Instagram's good. I think Instagram is the prime spot for memes, I think.
Yeah, I think right now.
It's the best we've got, you know. And meme accounts, like, the biggest, it's crazy. There's meme accounts that post just the most terrible stuff. And I mean terrible in terms of, like, actually morally terrible, not necessarily not funny. Because those things aren't sometimes not mutually exclusive. There can be some stuff that is hilarious and also, you know, terrible.
Kind of fucked up,
right?
yeah.
And I actually want to talk more about that in a bit, but those accounts have millions of followers. Like, this is not a small thing. Like, memes are no longer such a niche market, especially the ones that go really in depth. It's expanded so far that people know the Megalovania song.
And they don't know what Undertale is.
They don't know what Undertale is.
Maybe they don't know who Sans is. Maybe they know a picture of him.
Yeah, they know, oh, that's the yeah.
It's the Megalovania seller.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
because part of memes take on their own life.
For sure.
Separate from whatever they were inspired by. But, you know, the reason that got popular is because Undertale was also a huge game that everyone knew about, and that was kind of already memed on because of its, you know, toxic fan base.
Yeah, and its kind of sense of humor that it had inherent.
Yeah. Same with, like, you know, TikTok, I know, is kind of fading out, but there was the whole I Want to Be Tracer shit.
Oh,
which
God.
is also from Overwatch, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe not everyone understands that necessarily.
Frankly, I don't think the girl who made that video to start with understood it.
Probably not.
Her controller wasn't on. I mean, that joke was made many times.
Yeah, there is inherently in meme culture, there is like a sense of elitism, and I think that's kind of why it came up as we were just talking normally without even addressing this. But if you see someone trying to to interact in the meme world and do something like make a TikTok video where they're playing a video game and there's any discrepancy, then people will immediately, like your controller not being on.
Yeah.
The people are just immediately skeptical because the amount of people that are actually like fully capable of understanding and making memes that are not only funny but like are also appeal to like the niche audience of nerds essentially.
Yeah.
People are very skeptical. I don't think the reason that for such a long time that the nerd was like the niche group, and now it's kind of cool to be a nerd to some extent, but people don't want to put the full effort in to know what like Undertale is and what Megalovania is. I don't know.
It's also kind of interesting how I lost my train of thought. That was interesting. Yeah.
No, okay, so I was just gonna say, like, these different ecosystems you have. I'm trying to think. It's like the D&D thing where you have like good, neutral, evil.
Oh, like alignments.
Yeah, there's like different alignments, like type ecosystems of memes, and you have Facebook. I don't want to categorize them because I don't even know. I don't want to ostracize anybody that likes Facebook memes, but
if you like the Tic Tacs. Good on you for managing to listen to this because you are on the internet, and that's a big step for you. There's
Facebook, there's 9gag / iFunny, there's Instagram, and then you go into the depths of 4chan.
The depths of hell.
The depths of hell. I really want to talk about 4chan. I've been meaning to talk about 4chan for a while because I legitimately think that if you don't understand and are aware of what's going on 4chan, how it works over there, and what kind of, you know, what's the talk of the town, you could say, in 4chan, then I think you don't fully understand, like, mainstream culture as a whole right now. It's crazy. 4chan is this small group of niche people that are all, you know, they take pride, they lavish in offending people and saying, you know, the most outrageous thing they can because there's no restrictions, there's, you know, nothing gets deleted on 4chan. Also, everyone's anonymous.
That's true, yeah.
And yet they've done so many things. They as a collective have achieved so many things that are aimed to like poke fun at and ridicule, like, you know, mainstream news outlets and
exactly. Yeah, it seems like I think the golden age of 4chan was probably a little while ago. As someone who, you know, has only been browsing for 4 days because he only turned 18 5 days ago, and I definitely haven't been browsing for
of course
like 2 years, 3 years.
Yes.
I think some of their more historic pranks and stuff are probably a bygone era. If you look at things like pools closed and stuff, that joke was from like 2008 or something, and those are some of the more famous ones and ones that have endured to this day.
Yeah, well, you have most recently you have like the "He will not divide us."
Well, yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is I think even though maybe the stunts that 4chan has pulled have become less iconic, And I think part of the reason that they were so iconic is because the people who were dedicated internet users back in 2006, 7, 8 and stuff were probably more likely to be kind of meme culture aware anyway. So they were probably more involved in 4chan and that kind of thing. But I think nowadays a lot of their pranks and efforts and stuff have transcended over into the real world. And yeah, you've made a very good example with the He Will Not Divide Us. I think probably the most recent one is the whole white power hand symbol.
Oh, okay, yeah,
thing.
I need to talk to you about this. Because this is what I'm saying, and this was what kind of like spurred the thought in my head that if you don't understand 4chan, you don't understand dialogue. It's really like political dialogue. Because people see 4chan as... It is hell, right? But it's in some ways there's some upsides to hell in the fact that like you can just throw all your cards on the table, and you get to be exposed to like every sort of terrible person there is.
Oh yeah.
And there's utility in that, and it's also entertaining, obviously too.
Yeah.
But 4chan, they see like something like CNN. And they just detest it because they are like very it's pretty pro Trump over there. You got the orange man good.
Usually, yeah, they're at least they're. Well, going back to the D&D alignments, I think they're very chaotic. They definitely are very kind of libertarian
chaotic
aligned.
Neutral, I'd say.
For sure, that's probably about where you could put 4chan. That or
go chaotic evil.
You could.
There are sections of it that are certainly chaotic evil.
/ poll.
But I think people think that. And / poll sort of, but the thing about / poll, this is kind of hard to like say on the podcast because a lot of people won't understand what we're talking about. 4chan just being a super right-wing platform, people don't necessarily realize that almost 90% of the discourse that goes on is 4chan is 100% satire. People take everything they see on 4chan at face value and think that it's just this entire community of white supremacist, like, terrible people. And I'm not saying those people don't exist on 4chan. You gotta draw the line between satirizing a white supremacist, terrible Nazi person, and an actual one, which exists on 4chan, right?
Oh, definitely.
But the way that they satirize, they're satirizing themselves in some way with the white power symbol. If you don't know what we're talking about, so there's the emoji where you're kind of like making it. It's the
OK sign, the universal OK sign. The index finger and the thumb are together, and your other 3 fingers are up.
Yeah, you hold it below your waist, and you get like, ooh, got him. It's like a whole meme. That was a meme for a while, but. And you can find the actual thread where this idea was spurred, but they were like,
I think I saw it.
Yeah, it was pretty much saying like, "Hey guys, how funny would it be if we if we started promulgating this idea that the universal OOK symbol, the finger, was in some way like related to white supremacy."
Yeah.
So because it was already a meme. It was already a thing that people thought was funny, and it's an emoji too, like. Which
just meant that more people were going to be doing it already, so you could screw them over by turning them into neo-Nazis.
The idea is that like the letters, like you can do W is the 3 fingers, and then P is the like circle that you're making.
Yeah, we'll probably have to try to put a visual up.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
It's hard to describe.
Yeah. So. Completely satire. They're satirizing themselves by saying that like this group of people is so right-wing and terrible that they would take a symbol like that and turn it somehow to fit their white supremacist agenda. And the crazy thing is that fucking worked.
It worked.
CNN, like fucking BBC, everybody was reporting that symbol was now all of a sudden a white supremacist symbol, and they were fucking duped by this small group of idiots on the internet, and it's going into mainstream media like CNN, which like the majority of Americans like get their information from in terms of politics, and they're being fed this meme. They don't even know that they're being played, and the reason I wanted to mention that is because we were at school, I think it was last week. And we were going into Euro. We were like waiting at the door, and I see from down the hall, an unnamed history teacher go up to this group of kids and say, "Hey, you guys know that that's actually a white supremacist symbol that you're throwing up there." And so apparently these kids were doing the hand gesture. They might have even been doing the thing where you have it under your waist.
I think they were. I think
they
were
probably were. And this history teacher comes up. This person that's supposed to be my authority, you know? He's supposed to know more than me. He's supposed to be more knowledgeable, more wise. He comes up and starts reprimanding them for doing a symbol that is ostensibly connected to white supremacy. He doesn't even know that he's being made a fool of. This person, he's an adult, he's being made a fool of by the small group of trolls on the internet, by getting him, by convincing so many people that that's a white supremacist symbol. It was insane, and I find that hilarious. That's why I'm saying, if you don't understand 4chan, you don't understand what's going on in the mainstream dialogue. It really is such a vital part, because 4chan seeks out to troll and to make people look a fool. People that would otherwise seem very educated, you know, like a history teacher, like the one that I saw saying that.
Yeah, and I think that that's also interesting because, you know, you can buy or hate this theory. I'm honestly not sure what I think of this, but if you want to look at the 2016 election, which, you know, there's a lot of controversy, and Donald Trump, love him or hate him, seems like it's one or the other. But there's definitely a theory that 4chan, or the internet in general, meme culture, was partially responsible for Donald Trump's victory. And I think there's definitely some validity to that.
There's some validity to that.
At least in the argument that I think Hillary Clinton lost a lot of the young vote because she just wasn't relatable. I mean, the key example...
She wasn't a meme.
Yeah, the key example everybody loves is Pokemon Go to the Polls, or I'm just chilling in Cedar Rapids.
So disconnected.
Yeah.
But the thing is that obviously, like, Donald Trump doesn't know shit about memes either.
Yes.
Hillary Clinton was trying. The fact that she wanted, that she said Pokemon Go to the polls on November 11th just shows how disconnected she is, because she made an attempt to dip her toe into like internet culture and just got fucking slammed because of it.
Yeah. And I mean, power to her for trying, but like, you didn't try that hard. If that's what
you shouldn't try. Your ovaries are sand. You're like a 70-year-old woman. You have no, like, it's not gonna work out. You don't have kids that like tell you about the new hot meme. You don't go on Reddit. You don't go on Instagram. You don't go on anything except like Facebook. Like, that's what I'm saying. Is that you, even if you wanted to belong there, and even if you made an attempt to belong there, it just won't work. I really think that it just won't click.
Yeah, which was kind of a mistake, I think, for her to try. Is what we're saying. And I mean, Trump is definitely not any more meme literate or anything like that. It's just that he was goofy because, frankly, people couldn't believe what he was saying.
Donald Trump was already a meme. That's the thing. Is no one obtains meme status on their own, by their own volition. You think about Vsauce Michael making like just educational videos on YouTube, relatively serious, a bit goofy, and because of his little idiosyncratic like tendencies, he became a fucking meme that like. And he ended up embracing it, which I think if you embrace it, that's the only thing, is you can't pursue memedom. Donald Trump was already an absurd, ridiculous person. That's why he was on TV, in reality TV. Right. Because that fit. And Hillary Clinton was not. She had no chance of becoming a meme in any regard other than memeing the fact that she doesn't know shit about internet culture.
Yeah, and another interesting point to kind of bring to that is, or at least the argument of the internet and memes' roles in potentially electing the most powerful person on Earth.
Which is crazy, yeah.
Which is wild.
That's a testament to how powerful... Like, I don't think people should be treating memes as a joke. Yeah. They are jokes, but they are, like, such a bigger...
They're serious business.
They're serious fucking business.
But the thing is that not a lot of people often know this. A lot of people I know, at least, but that might partially be because we were only barely alive. But Donald Trump ran in the 2000 election. He had a presidential campaign, and it went almost nowhere. Even though I'm pretty sure he tried about as hard.
I've never heard that.
Yes, Trump 2000 was most definitely a thing. I think he may have run even another time, but he definitely ran in 2000, and
he just never got popular enough.
No, yeah, he didn't even come close to the Republican nomination.
And so what has changed?
What happened?
Yeah, what happened? And it's, you know what, it's pretty obvious. Well, it's a couple things. It's not one thing.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton was also a weak candidate, I think.
Yeah. People often, like, and I agree with this statement, it wasn't, like, Donald Trump didn't win the election. Hillary Clinton lost the election. Yeah. She fucked up. She had that in the bag. She was going up against this fucking bumbling idiot. Yeah. We were looking today in Euro or whatever, or it was in Band. We're band nerds.
Yes.
Secret is
We're
out.
very cool.
where he was signing a NAFTA agreement with the other leaders, and he fucking did it in Sharpie instead of pen and ruined the document. It's just unbelievable that person represents our country. At least, the very least you could say about Hillary Clinton is that she would have the professionalism and decency to just not embarrass us.
Yeah, she spent her entire life as a politician. I'm sure she would have been a fine president.
But I think that's why people like Donald Trump. Is because he represents... So that was another factor. One of the factors is that memes are way more mainstream and accessible to more people, and everyone likes memes now. Everyone has an Instagram. Everyone follows one or two meme pages. Even the most normie people follow Daquan or something. And it's also the fact that for the past 15 years we've been slowly liberals have slowly been ramping up the levels of what you can and can't say, and making certain topics very taboo. I'm not trying to be Ben Shapiro here, of course, talking about the left, but
he's your hero though.
No. No, he's but there's so many things. They're just I always get, it's just you're trying to control what people say and what people think, and you do that for long enough. You say certain things are so off limits. You try to suppress certain ideas, and that backfires in a big way.
Yeah.
And usually, when you suppress something, it only comes back with a vengeance.
And especially, I think comedy should be the last thing to be censored, and partially on moral grounds, but partially because I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can realistically try to censor comedy.
It would never work, and that's what the UN or
Article 13.
The European Union is this Article 13 stuff. What's going on right now? If you don't know, I mean, it's essentially banning memes. That's really it.
Yeah, but that's partially, isn't it rooted in copyright though?
It's rooted in copyright, but this what I'm talking about is that you're trying to, you see this thing that's going on. It may be satire, it may be jest, but you don't care. It doesn't matter because it's problematic language anyway. And so you need to shut that down because the way people talk affects the way that people think. And on the surface level, that's a reasonable argument. You see some stuff on the internet that is, very lewd, and you would never say that in real life, right?
Or hateful or something. I mean,
hateful,
you shouldn't necessarily be giving every neo-Nazi a pedestal in an audience.
But the levels of satire and irony just whiz right past them. They also don't, the philosophy behind Article 13 doesn't really take into account the fact that these, memes are such a big part. That's what I'm saying. People underestimate it. You can put this law into place, but it's not going to do shit, because memes are a staple of mainstream youth culture now. There's nothing you can do about it, and if you try to suppress them, they're only going to come back greater and harder, and people are going to try to be even more offensive, even more, hateful, even if it's satire. Yeah, it's not a good idea. Certainly not. But, I want to talk about Reddit. Well, first of all, I don't know if you've seen this meme, but it's two panels, and it's two labels, and there's millennials on the left and then Gen Z on the right. And on the left there's a picture of a woman with her head in her hands, crying, and the caption is "Nothing in life matters." And on the right is a kid with a backwards hat, sunglasses, wearing looks like Guy Fieri with a vaporwave background, and the caption is "Nothing in life matters." And so it's interesting you see this shift in nihilism in the youth. It's very easy now. There's a variety of reasons why people are so much more prone to anxiety and depression, so much more prone to nihilism in general, thinking that nothing in life matters. Which I don't really want to get into now, but it's interesting. I want to know your thoughts on where this shift came from being in despair by the fact that nothing matters and embracing that and making that into a meme itself with Generation Z.
Well, I think a lot of it is that Gen Z is still young. If we're considering, typically the definition of millennials is people who not were born around the turn of the millennium, but rather came of age, which puts us at, the oldest being early to mid 80s, and the latest being maybe 95, but frankly
Maybe.
at that point you're still kind of getting into Gen Z.
Maybe.
And I think, again, kind of part of it is that Gen Z, we're not grown up yet. I mean, it's like I said, I guess I'm technically an adult now, but
Yeah,
I was
I'm
born
not.
in
I'm 17.
Yeah, and I was born in 2000. That's not that long ago on any sense of the time.
On a grander scale.
Yeah. So I think part of it is that a lot of members of what would be typically considered Gen Z are at the oldest in university still, which definitely has a lot of problems and a very lot of adult problems, financial, that kind of thing. But we
Yeah.
haven't really fully matured into the new generation yet. The millennials are still kind of where the young adults in the workforce are. But I think another part of it...
That could lead to... Because, you know, it's so difficult to... you get out of college, you spend so much money, you're $30K in debt, and you don't have a job, and it's really easy to fall into depression after that.
Absolutely.
And there are reasons why that's the case, but
I think the other part of it is probably, again, like I was saying earlier, I mean, we grew up with the internet. We have not had a point in our lives where we've not been able to access just like the majority of mankind's knowledge. I mean, instant news, the information age is where we live.
yeah,
And
which
I
is
think,
a blessing, really.
Yeah, I would say it is.
personal blessing.
It is ultimately,
Ultimately a blessing.
but there's definitely
In the
some
short term,
downsides.
it's a curse.
Yeah, and there are downsides, and I think that it's definitely that we've grown up being more aware of the world than any generation before us at that particular age. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that older generations are clueless, but rather they just didn't have,
Access to that.
they didn't have,
Or into that perspective.
yeah, they didn't have the internet to check, 10 different news sources every day if they wanted to when they were 18.
And hear what's happening in every corner of the world.
Yeah, hear from people from different countries. And
Yeah.
so I think we have been grown up being exposed to kind of the worst bits of society, the best as well, but the worst, the kind of horrors of the world and the confusion that there is. And we've started being exposed to that at a much younger age. I remember actually being very surprised because I remember I was watching some old... My dad has me archiving these old home videos off of an old cassette recorder, like a handheld video camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching them back, and there's this video where I'm maybe 3 and my brother Lucas is 1 or something, and we're like playing with our Brio trains, just having a grand old time. And my dad says, 1 sec, and he goes over to the computer, and he says the date, and it's sometime in 2003 or 4 or something. And he says, he starts talking about like the terror in like Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff and what's been going on. And so that was weird to me because I was so innocent, but I also feel like for a lot of my life, I've been aware. And I think that's a lot of why we act like that, is our Gen Z being our exposure to this world has been so great that we've developed this kind of endless cynicism. It almost doesn't seem...
Callousness.
Yeah, exactly. It almost doesn't seem real sometimes. I mean, it's like you just talked about, like if a president... I mean, the Sharpie thing, it's not that big a deal. Kind of is, though. But the implication behind it...
Yeah.
The implication behind it... Like, I'm not shocked, and I think Donald Trump is definitely a special case in terms of presidents, but we hear about these things that are happening in the world and how crazy the times are and that kind of thing, and we're just kind of like, yeah, figures, I think we've kind of been raised...
Nothing surprises us
anymore. We've been raised with this kind of cynicism and this callousness,
It
too.
really is cynicism.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's also, it's just, in our lifetime, there's just been so much new stuff going on that's just so absurd, and the fact that everyone has access and information about like all these absurdities that are going on. We've been at war for what, like fucking forever.
Yeah, since pretty
like
much
our lifetime. Yeah, essentially. We live in like post 9/11 world. Obviously, like, I mean, it's just there's so much going on now that it's like nothing surprises us now. And I think that's honestly the best way, or like a more positive way to live your life. I hope it doesn't die out when Gen Z ultimately like grows up and gets into the workforce. I hope they, if nothing else, I don't think this is the best way to live your life, but to maintain that sort of cynicism and like carefree callousness, because that will ultimately like help you out the best in your life if you realize it's like, all right, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, I have no money, but this is like, but that's just how shit works. So might as well just make a joke out of it, you know?
Right. Yeah. Have a little fun. There's also the argument that, and you see a lot more kind of activism in young people and that kind of thing. I mean, mass shootings is the most common one that comes up, and gun control and that kind of thing. And regardless of whether you believe in it or not, I think this generation, as well as having this kind of cynical callousness, has also, to a degree, kind of gotten fed up with it, because now we're getting to a point where these problems, these horrible things in the world are happening, and you can't make an argument that it's our fault. You can place blame on millennials, and whether that's founded or not is a very heavily debated subject. But it might be enough, because you can't blame us because we haven't even grown up yet. And you look at this world, or we look at this world that we're being given, and maybe it's finally enough for us to be like, you know what, fuck this, and like actually change something. There's a lot of people who are saying that this generation kind of has to, frankly, for the state of the planet, get our shit together.
I thought I lost.
What?
Never mind.
Okay.
Well, that was actually a great point that you made. It made me think of something. Do you think that in some regard we are kind of resentful of the older generation for putting us on this earth in this state? I'm talking purely like culturally, because in terms of like our systems, you know, politics, economics, you know, we're doing all right. We're not, things are working pretty well.
Yeah.
There are obviously some issues that we will continue to work on. And, you know, that's just a natural tendency of younger kids to want to, like, you have this idealistic view that you can change the world and, like, for the better. And some people, you know, actually pursue that and go through with that into their later years. And those are the people that actually end up making a difference,
right,
even if it's in a small regard. But the people that just do it, you know, as an act of, like, you know, it's really just having a good time for some people. It's
what they say. They say that at the heart of every cynic is a disappointed idealist.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I'm saying, like, in the culture that we were born into, and I mentioned this. I had a talk with or we did an episode with with Jack and Nick Thompson.
Yes.
We talked about, like, the sensationalism of our culture in general, especially in, like, politics. If you ever seen, like, the side-by-side comparisons between Canadian president, or, well, it would be for prime minister, like, debates versus, like, what we have here.
Oh, yeah, there's an entertainment factor.
It's completely different. Yeah, it's a fucking reality show for us, essentially, which is probably part of the reason why Donald Trump was able to win, because everything's so sensationalized.
He knew how to game the system.
100% media coverage all the time.
Yeah, like,
I think that we're just, like, at least I feel some sort of like disappointment in these people, like these elder people that are supposed to guide us and be wise, kind of in the same way I was talking about that history teacher earlier. It's like we have all this access to this information, but it seems like some of the people that we're supposed to be looking up to don't acknowledge that and don't embrace that in the way that could actually, like, improve things. Just, we were born into a society where, like, just everything, you know, there's a school shooter, and next thing you know, like, first sign of it, you're trying to get the person's picture up and their name up and learn as much as you can about them, sort of glorifying them as
the anti-hero, swathed in black.
Yeah, we talked about that a bit too in that last episode. I don't know, I feel people, the younger generation, may have some resentment because of that. I'm not super sure.
I think that is definitely plausible. I should probably lead off by saying that I've been very fortunate in my life. I've never had any kind of real hardship, frankly, and I'm very grateful to my parents and all that. But I think that that's definitely true. I think there's definitely some resentment, not even necessarily because the world is in the condition it's in and that's the world we're going to inherit, but I think it's also partially that we don't kind of get the credit that's warranted in terms of being people. I think that's kind of a fate that frankly has just befallen teenagers throughout all of history, kind of the youth, but also I think kind of even more specifically, and again, that maybe just more exposure and more people get an outlet, you know, because you can post whatever the hell you want online now, no matter who you are. But I think millennials have definitely caught a lot of that with the whole avocado toast thing. You know, why aren't millennials buying houses?
Yeah.
But I think also
it's like everything's getting pinned on us.
It's starting to happen.
I say us, but I haven't bought any houses really.
Yeah. No, it's a partial. I think millennials are getting more of the brunt of that because again, they are the ones that we're not quite full adults yet. We're not quite in the workforce and buying homes or not buying homes for that matter. But I think I definitely see, and I always feel a little resentful about. You see articles about like teen psychology or something, and there's definitely some validity and some genuine science behind analyzing human psychological development at different phases in our life. And I'm not saying that my brain is the same as an adult's, which is not the same as a 10-year-old's or something, but there's always these kind of attitudes in these articles about teens, even not by psychologists but just by like moms, like parenting tips, where teenagers and young adults are not human. Like, they don't say that, but they're like some kind of beast that needs to be tamed. Yeah, some kind of different creature with a completely different way of thinking. And sometimes that's kind of funny to see coming from the people who created this planet.
That's true. It's like we're all these untamed beasts, and there's some route that you should take and that you should encourage your offspring to take if you want them to succeed. But it's partly like, as I was saying earlier, you're a millennial and you've spent your whole life being told that you go to college, you go to a good college, you get good grades, and you get a good job, and you're good, you're set. And then people did that, and that wasn't the case, and they were in debt, and they had no job, and people get mad. Like, that's why I think the millennials right now are in this like depressed state of like hopelessness, really. Yeah,
and we've definitely kind of seen that as Gen Z. I think there's still definitely pressure to attend a kind of traditional 4-year university or whatever, but at the same time, I think there's definitely less of kind of a stigma against going to a trade school or taking a gap year or just doing something else with your life.
Or just not going to college, which is, let's be honest, probably the best decision you could make if you are only concerned about making money and having a stable financial situation.
Yeah.
It really is. Which is, I think there's a huge issue right now, like the I don't want to come off as saying that like millennials were just, the system was rigged from the start, and that they couldn't they had no chance, and that the only reason that they're not succeeding now is because the system's fucked, because that's the kind of like vague rhetoric that I don't really like. Right. And I don't think makes a lot of sense when you delve into it. But I think there is some validity to the argument that the way that we encourage kids to live out their life and what to pursue is kind of misguided now. Like, the world is changing. There's no, and you said it's changing, like, the stigma around going to a trade school or something is less than it has been in the past, and that's probably good. And it's probably because people are realizing that these traditional paths to success that we've had in place for so long aren't working out as well. There's too many people with degrees now. There's too many PhDs, and that's crazy. Like, that's a crazy situation that people hadn't envisioned in the past.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool problem to have, but it's still a problem.
Kind of a cool problem.
But the bachelor's degree...
if everyone's special, no one's special.
Yeah, the bachelor's degree has kind of become the new high school degree, from what I can tell.
It really is, yeah.
It's difficult to get hired without a 4-year university degree, and that's probably not good. It's almost definitely not good.
Yeah, and I wonder if when Gen Z, our generation, grows up, if the meme climate will reflect that sort of hopelessness, or if we'll, I'm hoping, what I hope, and this is kind of the optimist in me, there's this one guy, I forget his fucking name. He's a guy that made, I don't know if you know those graphs that have all the different colored circles, and they like show, change of like child birth rate over time, and I don't know, there's these animated things. There's just one guy that made
I think I know what you're
this whole like revolutionary like system.
Pauly, throw one up on the screen.
Yeah, throw one up. We're not gonna throw one up.
Okay.
He said that I'm not an optimist, I'm a very serious realist. And I feel like I'm in the same boat, that I'm hoping that the Gen Z people with the backwards hat and the sunglasses that say nothing in life matters, I hope they take that sort of whimsicality and like just fuck whatever has been set up for me. I'm just gonna do what, nothing in life matters, so I'm just gonna do what I think is right for me. I hope that carries into them joining the workforce or them choosing to do something else. Like, I hope more people don't go to college and choose to pursue a career right out of high school because they will be better off for it in the long run. And maybe that'll balance out sort of this oversaturation of people in the universities and stuff. I don't know. But hopefully memes guide people. I would be sad if when we got older that the meme climate, if I'm still up to date on it, is much more somber and less absurd and wacky as it is now. Because right now it's just everyone seems like they're having a real good old time in the memescape. It may be partially to cope with, you know, a crippling depression or anxiety caused by looking at too many memes, being on the internet too much, which might be part of it.
Sitting in a darkened room in the blue glow of a...
It's a positive feedback loop in that regard. Yeah. I don't know. It would be sad to grow up and see that kind of whimsicality fade away, I guess it did with the millennials. But I'm not really sure what memes were like when I was, you know, in 2000. I mean, they were more... It was a more niche group, I guess, too, so it's kind of hard to compare the two. But.
Yeah.
All right. That was a good discussion. Also, I want to move on quickly to the use of memes. When does a meme go too far? When do you show someone a meme and they reel back in horror and are disappointed in you for thinking that's funny? We do that sometimes, you know. We do that, you know, with our friend Sam. This is part and parcel of him being sort of disconnected from internet culture.
Yeah. This episode's dedicated to you, Sam. Buddy.
It is, yeah. Because we love Sam, but I think his desire to be like us is misguided.
Definitely. Yeah, no, you don't want that.
You don't want to be a fucking nerd. Like, it's not fun. Even though we're I mean, I don't know. But I was saying that, like, you know, we'll show Sam a meme, and he'll be like, it's hilarious. He'll go, that's not funny. That's fucked up.
That's fucked
and
up.
It's like, you're laughing, dude. Yes, you think it's funny. People, I really want all the boundaries of comedy. There are boundaries in terms of like what you think is funny. You want to close that door real quick?
Yeah. Let's not let it.
There are boundaries in terms of like what comedy is funny to somebody. If you say something, if it's the day after 9/11 and you make a 9/11 joke, there are going to be people that just, even if the joke is well structured and has a punchline or whatever, people are just going to be like, nah, dude, like, not today. They're not going to laugh. They're not even going to want to laugh. That's really, so when something goes too far, people don't even want to laugh. But when something is pushing the boundaries of what is acceptable, that's what makes people go crazy. I think that's what makes, and they laugh at themselves because they're realizing like how fucked up they are on the inside, but that's not even really the case. I think that people confuse the point of comedy. They don't really, I don't think a lot of people understand the point of comedy outside from the meme realm, you know, the depths of the meme realm, as I'd call it.
Yes.
Is that memes are in a lot of ways a coping system, and they may be jokes, they may be funny, but they're not necessarily like this positive, happy-go-lucky medium of expressing yourself.
Exactly.
Almost all the memes that you really like are rooted in really fucked up, like, dark subject matter that people... And so you need to, like, differentiate. You need to realize that, like, if you laugh at something and you think, oh, that's fucked up, it's like, yeah, it's making you feel better. It's like, it's allowing you to comprehend, like, there's this thing in the world that's so fucked up and so hard to comprehend how, like, a person would even do this or make fun of this, and it softens it, you know, it makes it more easy to deal with. And then when you actually have to like go out into the world and deal with a serious situation like that, you're more equipped because it's not scary anymore.
Yeah, I think the ultimate proof of that is probably The Onion, and similar things. And The Onion got its start, I want to say sometime in the 70s, as like a weekly like university humor paper. I have this book that has all of their front pages from when they started up to when the book was published, which was probably about 10 years ago now, because the last one was Black Man Given Nation's Worst Job, when Obama got elected.
Yeah, that's a great one.
But, or maybe it went a little beyond that, but point being, the fact that something like The Onion is still here and still going after, God, they must be getting close to 50 years at that point. At this point.
I mean, satire is a mechanism that will never die out.
Yeah,
that's probably that may be partly why we're living in such an absurd time that we need more memes to like kind of rationalize that.
Yeah, the Onion has held together for so long because it's kind of this essential part of dealing with the tragedy and horror that is an unfortunate part of the world.
And they're often really on the nose and have good
Oh
points.
yeah, they're ruthless.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And they like stop and make you go, oh.
Yeah,
like shit. Like you laugh and then you go, oh.
Yeah, that's the great utility of comedy and satire is that you say something that on surface level is pretty fucked up, and then, you know, after you're done laughing, you kind of settle down, and then it makes you think, like, about some real shit that is actually, like, that you wouldn't have thought about otherwise, that you actually need to take into account. Every time there's a school shooting, The Onion posts that article where it's like, in quotes, "No way to prevent this, says only country in the world where this happens regularly."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it seems like they're posting that article, it seems more frequently all the time. It's like, you settle down and you're like, all right, what's actually the deal here? And I think a big part of the deal, of the whole reason that that's such an issue, is because of the sensation, like how mainstream media is so sensationalized, partly because it's dying. You know, mainstream media is on the way out.
Yeah.
It's kicking the bucket, and so they're grasping at any straws they can get for any, you know, last ditch efforts at relevancy, which is kind of sad. But this is the future, baby. It's time to...
Future's now, old man.
Future's now, old man. That's the thing, is that I hope that as I grow old, I'm 17 now, I'm on the way out, you know, I've hit the peak of my life.
Right.
It's all downhill from here.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that I maintain the ability to just, like, not get stuck in the past, you know? I hope, and I think that's a good thing with memes and stuff. I hope everyone in Gen Z that is, like, well-versed in memes, even if you're only on, like, the surface level, that memes will sort of guide you through, keep you aware about stuff. It's a constant motion of, like, you know, memes get popular and then they die down. It's like this fluid changing of, like, the meme economy as it's known on Reddit.
Right.
That it always keeps you up to date, and it always, like, keeps you on your toes. It makes you think about different stuff, and it also, like, doesn't allow you to get stuck in nostalgia in the past, really. Like, I think, because part of the reason is that, like, some memes kind of feed your nostalgia boner, and that's nice. But I hope as memes guide me through my older years, that it'll keep me up to date on stuff. It won't allow me to become atrophied like these Facebook minion posters on Facebook.
The Tic Tacs. The day I share a minion meme, someone just fucking shoot me.
Shoot me in the head. Just go for it.
Do it.
Unless it's ironic, obviously.
Yeah, hang on. I've shared minion memes.
That's another thing that I want to mention is that, like, Instagram will satirize, like, the just, like, layers upon layers of irony.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I think some memes are so inaccessible to people, because unless you're in the thick of it, you don't understand, like, which level of irony you're at. It's like you're so far down, you're like, which level are we even at this point? And so some people that, like, when you understand what level you're at, that's when it really clicks. Like, that's where the joke is.
Exactly.
But it's hard.
Shout out r/wacky Tic Tacs. Don't go there.
Is that, I've never heard of r/.
That it's just dedicated to really fucked up minion memes. Like,
God.
They're horrible, but they're just
might have to check that out. Well, Nate, I think that's all I really wanted to talk about today.
Alrighty.
I think we covered a lot of good. This was a good one.
For sure. Yeah.
We covered a lot of subjects. And really my final sentiment is that you shouldn't write off memes as this kind of wacky pastime to waste your time away as you slowly fail your college courses and not get a job. It is a method that people use to express themselves. It's a method that people use to mourn and to be funny and to like express, you know, deal with some really dark shit, because we live in a dark world, you know. As sad as it is, there needs to be some sort of, like, drug, and memes are that drug to sedate you. That's really, and that's what I think. You shouldn't write them off. They're a big deal.
For sure.
All right, Nate, shake my hand, buddy. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for being on. I'll have you on. I mean, now that I'm the only, like, sovereign member of this conglomerate, that I formed with Jack, and now he's abandoned me. at least for the time being, I'm gonna hold down the fort. So you might have to be around to help me out with that.
Yeah, definitely.
So expect Nate on future episodes, but we're gonna get more people on. There's a ton of people in our school that I want to talk to, and these podcasts are only gonna get better. Right now they're ass, but they will get better.
This one was alright.
This one was alright. They're still ass. All right.
Yeah.
So let's be honest here.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme.
We got to get Pauly on those visuals.
Yeah, we got to get an editor. We'll hit up Kit.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll enslave him.
No one knows who Kit is. All right. Well, thanks for listening. If you listened to the whole thing, if you did, give me a text. Say I liked this episode. Actually, if you've listened to this whole episode, send me a text or a message of a picture of a minion doing the whip and the nay-nay. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I'll see you later.